TV. This is the Diatone GT-R239. I purchased this quad to be used as a 2-inch micro cine setup. In this video, I will be covering how to install the FrSky RXSR receiver with telemetry. This quad does come with a connector that's compatible with the RXSR receiver, but they did clip off the smart port wire, so I'll show you how to wire that back in and configure it in Betaflight so you can get telemetry information on your RC transmitter. Then I will also show you how to install and configure the beeper that comes with this kit. I have this Runcam split mini V2 that I had, and I'm going to install this and configure it in Betaflight, so I'll show you how to do that. And then also there's some tuning that needs to be done on this. The factory PIDs and tune probably aren't going to work out too well, and I'm going to use the experience that I gained from setting up the Diatone GT-R239. There was quite a bit of tuning I had to do to get this thing to fly halfway decent. So hopefully what I learned from tuning this, I can use some of those same techniques and settings that I did on the 249 on the 239. And then lastly, I'm going to go ahead and get some HD flight footage to see if it was worth all the trouble. So the first thing I'm going to do is start out by removing the canopy and getting access to the flight controller. All right, let's start taking the canopy off. So here is the buzzer connector, and here is the camera connection, and then this is the RXSR receiver connector. So this is what it looks like with the top VTX cover off. So we're just going to gently move that to the side. I'm going to use some tape to hold everything together on the bottom here so the screws don't fall out, just to kind of hold it in place. So what I'm trying to do is keep everything as close put together as possible, so it's just easier when I go back to reassemble it. So to hold things together, I'm going to go ahead and install these brass standoffs that come with the Runcam. So what I'm going to do next is where they cut the smart port wire off, I'm going to go ahead and lift up the tab here on this connector with an X-Acto knife. And you just need to be very careful that you don't cut yourself. But I'm going to lift that tab up, and I'm going to use my tweezers to pull that wire that they cut off. And then I'm going to add a wire to the connector to the PPM pad down here. Let me get it in focus, which is the second tab from the end here, right next to the S-Bus tab. So what I'm going to do is use soft serial, and I'll show you how to configure that in Betaflight, and I'll be attaching a wire from there to this pin right here. All right, now I have the wire soldered on. This is the PPM pad that I'm going to be configuring as soft serial, so that's going to be my smart port for telemetry information to my radio. I do have it connected into the connector here. So you got ground, 5 volts, smart port, and then S-Bus. And over here you want to
solder the wires so that it's pointing in towards the flight controller. You don't want it hanging out here because then it'll get caught by the props. So when you're soldering it on, make sure it's soldered in towards the inside, the wires, that you're coming in this direction versus that direction. So next I'm going to wire up the Runcam Split Mini V2. So what you're going to do, or what I'm going to do, is connect RX to UART6 TX, and then we're going to take RX6 and connect it to the TX. So it's RX to TX and TX to RX. And again, we're going to be using the UART6 pads here. All right, so now we have TX connected to the RX pad for UART6, and then we have the RX pad connected to the TX pad of UART6 on the flight controller. So I am going to be adding another washer underneath the standoffs because the flight stack wasn't quite tight enough. You don't want it cinched down too tight, but it was too loose and was floating too much. So I went ahead and started adding washers underneath the standoffs that come with the Runcam Split Mini V2. So this is what it looks like with the top cover in place. So I'm going to go ahead and finish installing the canopy. So the next thing I'm going to do is install the beeper. What I'm going to do is just put it on the back of the camera here. There's not a whole lot of space here to put the beeper, but seems like a good place just to, it comes with a little sticky pad, two-sided tape, so I think I'm just going to attach it to the back side of the camera here. Alright, as you can see, I plugged in the 2-wire connector into the supplied beeper. It's basically used the double-sided tape here to attach it to the camera, and it looks like it's gonna fit great. Okay, so got the canopy back on. I did add a AXE micro stubby antenna. It should be better as far as video reception over the stock antenna. So I'm pretty pleased. And got the beeper in place and the Runcam Split Mini V2. So overall, I think it turned out. I'm gonna have to still plug in the RXSR receiver in the back here, and that's what I'm going to do next, and then I'm going to configure things in Betaflight. Okay, I have the receiver installed. As you can see, I put it underneath the flight stack. There is Diatone accommodated for that setup. You can see that you can route the receiver antenna up through these tubes on both sides for diversity. I went ahead and added some cable ties and heat shrink tubing just to keep it away from the props and to get better reception. So now I'm going to go ahead and configure everything in Betaflight. So on the configuration page, I changed the motor direction. I changed the motor idle up throttle value from 3 to 5.5. I changed the gyro update frequency and PID loop frequency to 8K, 4K. Changed the maximum arm angle to 180. Changed the craft name. Enabled soft serial and telemetry. And everything else is the same except for the USB beep. Turn that off. So I just went in and changed the direction of each ESC. And I'm just going to go ahead and write the setup. So next I'm going to free up the PPM pad to be used for soft serial. So typed in resource PPM 1 none, resource ESC serial 1 equal none, and then I set the soft serial to soft serial 1, and that's pad C09. Now we're going to hit a save. So these are the PIDs I used on the GT-249. So I'm going to try these on the 239 to see whether or not they work okay. I took the recommendations that the Betaflight devs had for Betaflight 3.4 and Betaflight 3.5 and used those as a base starting point, and then modified it from there to try and get rid of the oscillations. If you look, I have iTerm Relax on as well. On the receiver tab, I turned on smoothing type filter and left it on the defaults. Make sure the input filter type is biquad. And that's all I did on the receiver tab, other than turning on the RSSI channel to aux 12. So here are my port settings. For soft serial, I enabled smart port telemetry output. That allows me to get telemetry information on my radio, and I can also use that to control the PIDs and other settings via my radio. For UART 6, so I can control the Runcam Split Mini V2. I have peripherals set to Runcam device, and with that, that's the last of my setting changes, and I'm going to go out and get some video and see how those look, and I'll post those. Thanks for watching.